All right. I talked to a man about this yesterday once we got into the albergue. And it's the number one thing that turns a amicable divorce into a high conflict divorce, even when she's asking for it. And it drives men crazy. I'm going to talk about a couple of other things they do. But understand, she wants a divorce. Doesn't mean she's going to move forward with the paperwork. You're going to have to most likely lead the divorce you don't want, men. Okay? And so a couple of mistakes men make are pushing too hard, too fast, not letting her work through. It's almost like the stages of grief or denial within a divorce. So you have and I'm going to use a client I can think of whose wife made more money than him, wanted the divorce. They agreed, and she was, I'm not paying alimony. Absolutely not. She has no say in that. And it took about 6 months till she was telling her friends, I think I'm going to have to pay alimony. And then finally, it was no longer a point that caused anger with her. So there is what I call the delusional phase when a woman wants a divorce, where they think they are entitled to the kids 100%. They think even if they're a doctor and a high income earner, they don't have to pay alimony, they don't have to pay child support. There's a lot of those delusional phases in a divorce. And it just takes time. Give it time. Buenos dias. And so trying to push that can create more conflict. What you want is to always get agreed to as much as possible before the attorneys get involved, okay? Second, and this is a good indicator of how reasonable things are going to be, is she willing to go 50-50 right off the bat with custody, which is what's best for the kids, okay? If she's not, you may end up having an issue. And you'll eventually have to go high conflict. A mistake men make is agreeing to temporary custody that is nothing like what they would be willing to accept, because a lot of judges are horrible. Some places are trying to change that, but you have to just assume a judge will want to keep going with the status quo. So don't give in on that. Okay, now, so the one thing that men do that cause a high conflict divorce is they start dating. Okay, she may have had an affair. She may want the divorce. You may be living apart for a year, and suddenly you start dating somebody who is more attractive, younger, and you're happy, and the world explodes because she gets pissed. It's fascinating to watch, but it is also pretty predictable. So do not date right away. First off, you need to work on yourself and not be focused on trying to find somebody next. But if you've worked on yourself, you've been divorced for a year or two, you really want to be smart about it. Maybe discreetly date, or if it's a shorter time frame, just wait until the divorce is final. Because we see it all the time. The divorce is final, and as soon as you start dating, she acts like the co-parent from hell. So you can imagine how much worse it would be if you weren't divorced yet. So that's your divorce wisdom tip for the day. And then again, the number one thing that causes high conflict divorces is you dating and being happy before the divorce is final. All right, guys, contact information is down below. If you're trying to save a marriage, happy to talk with you. If you're ready to divorce, happy to talk with you. And we'll see you next time. Catch you later.